Hello, Roger Bisbee here from the Skill Builder channel, back with another little problem. Chris has contacted us. Now, Chris says that he's got a property that he's looking at buying in Sussex. It's in clay, and he said it's got a cellar, but he's concerned about all the way around the outside is these signs of damp, and he's saying, is this rising damp something I should be concerned about? And in the cellar he's got pooling of water in the corners, and he said he's also got the lath and plaster ceiling that's falling away, so it shows it's pretty old. But let's have a look. Here's a bit of stonework that he's got, quite nice, but it's been painted with this paint, and you can see what's happening. The moisture in the stone, if you like, is probably pushing that paint off slightly, and it's trying to escape there, and the paint is impeding it. So not a great idea, not good paint really. I mean, if you're going to paint stonework, if you have to paint it, and if you don't have to, I wouldn't. I love the look of natural stonework, but if you need to paint it, then use something like a silicone paint, which is highly breathable and water repellent. The water will run like droplets off it, like water off a duck's back. If you've ever seen that, who's ever seen that? You can see more examples of it there. It's the ground that's got the water in it. It's clay after all, and it's just trying to come up this blockwork and escape. It may even be render, you know, you don't know. I mean, when I say it's stone, it could even be just render that's made to look like blockwork. So again, maybe trapping moisture in. We just don't know whether that's sand or cement or not there. Now here's the inside of a cellar. He's got himself a 3-phase supply, so if he's off mains gas, that might be quite useful to put a heat pump in at some point. I mean, I am very rude about heat pumps, but in a situation where you're off the mains gas, you haven't got a lot of alternatives. You know, oil boiler might be one, but you know, a heat pump's definitely worth looking at in those situations. Best thing, of course, is when you can get a hybrid, get the two. Now here we're looking around the edge. He's saying, oh, is this a cause for concern? He's wondering if it would cause structural damage. What we've got is the groundwater that's trying to escape. Bit of ropey old brickwork there. Is that a damp-proof course in there? Who can see? I don't know. But anyway, let's have a look. Let's move along. Oh yeah, you see, look, this is just painted brickwork. Painted brickwork is always problematic. People do it, and obviously the reason they do it is because the bricks look horrible, or they're trying to match up. They've got a bit of an extension or something, so they think, oh, here you are, here's a case in point. This is new brick, this is old brick, and they obviously don't match, so somebody thought, well, let's just give it all a paint, and then we can at least try and match it. And you see they've got a bit of damp-proof course through this bit here, and here there is no damp-proof course. The damp-proof course stops abruptly there. So here you are, there's another little sign of it. Looks to me like there might be a public footpath going through there. That sign, clean up after your dog. I mean, you wouldn't put that in your own garden unless you, well, maybe you would. But anyway, you can see what's happening. The moisture's trying to escape through the mortar, and it's being trapped by all this paint. That's quite an expensive job to have all that paint removed, but there are companies around who do it very, very efficiently these days. There's a couple of really good systems out there for removing paint, so it's worth looking at that. If not, I would probably look at just raking out all that pointing just to get rid of the paint over the pointing. That would do something. I don't know what that would look like if you did that, but anyway. Years ago, it was difficult getting a mortgage on a cellar, but it's become easier because there's a lot more damp-proofing companies around who would do a good job on a cellar. You've got two choices, really. You either drain it from the inside with a pump, or you stop the water coming in from the outside. Now, it's always preferable to stop the water coming in from the outside, and it looks to me like this house is detached. It looks like there's reasonable access around the outside, and although it sounds like a horrendous job, if you get a guy in there with a digger and they can dig a trench all the way around the outside, put a membrane up the outside, put some insulation against that wall as well, that would be fantastic. It's the best way to insulate a cellar wall is from the outside. So these systems do exist, and again, you know, you wouldn't get any change out of £20,000 doing that, but I think if you did it from the outside, you'd have a better job. It would be a passive job, but it really depends what you're going to use your cellar for, and if you're going to use it as habitable space. If you really want it to be bone dry, you do it from the outside. You put that membrane up, you put a skirt in there, you put a French drain in there because you've got that clay, so the clay's always going to be holding water. Then you backfill that, but also on the inside, put a little perimeter drain around just for belt and braces. You wouldn't necessarily have to put a membrane up the wall because it's highly likely that if any water came in, it would be coming in right at that bottom junction where the wall joins the floor. That's always the problematic point. But there is hope. I mean, you know, his cellar, quite honestly, when I look at those pictures, it's not a lot different to the cellar that I'm sitting in right now, which is my house. And when I came in, it would look like this. And I had to replace the ceilings and all the rest of it, and the floor, dig up the floor, put in a polythene membrane, put in a bit of insulation, and it's as dry as a bone now. I'm very, very happy with it. So it can be done, Kris. You know, you've always got to keep a little bit of heat going in a cellar, unfortunately, because, you know, you can't just rely on passive ventilation to keep them dry. You want a fan in there of some sort, extractor fan, maybe with a humidistat, but also some heat. Heat's lovely. So I hope that helps, Kris. And whether you buy the house or not, who knows?